The first sign your day's about to go sideways isn't always a thunderclap. It might just be the thud of a designer suitcase smacking your leg on a crowded jet bridge. That's how it started for me. I half-turned, expecting the usual, sorry about that. But instead I got the sort of glare you'd expect if you'd just keyed someone's new Tesla. The woman wielding that suitcase had a bob so sharp. You could have measured angles with it, sunglasses perched like a crown, lips pinched as if the air itself offended her. You know the type, if there's a war to fight over seat assignments. She's showing up with legal pads and backup. She huffed past me like I was her last obstacle to world domination. I shrugged, handed my ticket to the attendant, and slid into my aisle seat. Legs finally stretching out. That's when the air behind me thickened with the scent of a perfume so strong I could practically hear it. Right before Bob Cut herself stopped at my row and pointed. "You're in my seat." I didn't even have to check my ticket, but I did anyway, slow and deliberate, for her benefit. "Says here I'm 14C. Her laugh was sharp as glass. "Sweetheart, I never sit in the middle. I booked this row. You must be mistaken." A guy by the window, already looking shell-shocked, squeezed by us and folded himself into his seat like he was trying to disappear. Meanwhile, our little drama blocked half the boarding process. The attendant hustled over, smile barely hanging on. "Karen." "Yeah." By then she was Karen in my head, jabbed her finger. "He's in my seat. I demand he moves." The attendant checked my pass and barely missed a beat. "Sir is in the correct seat, ma'am. You're 14B, the middle." That word hit Karen like a slap. I don't do middle seats. I'm platinum. I'm on the HOA board. People respect me. I almost laughed. "Well, looks like today's an exception." I said it quiet, almost friendly. Funny how that stings the worst. Karen stuffed her bag in the overhead like she was trying to break something and landed in the middle seat beside me, arms crossed, fuming so hard I swear it changed the cabin pressure. She started her campaign early. Hit the call button, called for an upgrade, insisted, "Someone like me doesn't belong back here." The attendant, professional but exhausted, said business was full. Karen huffed. He could take the middle or go back to coach where he belongs. I grinned. "We are in coach. Trust me, nobody's comfortable here." The window guy tried to pretend he was invisible, but Karen wasn't giving up. She hit the call button again, asked for sparkling water with lemon, then sent it back because it was club soda with lime. Meanwhile, she muttered about how the world owed her better service, about how she'd file complaints with corporate, and all I could think was, this woman doesn't get tired. She only gets louder. Here's where things took a turn. The attendant returned, calm but with a glint in her eye. "Ma'am, the seat you requested is reserved for the air marshal." Karen blinked, confusion and outrage playing tug-of-war on her face. "Are you saying he's some kind of agent?" The attendant smiled. "I didn't say that. Just that it's reserved." After that, every time there was a little turbulence or a weird sound, Karen's eyes darted to me. "You seem awful calm." She hissed once. "Wouldn't you like to know?" I shrugged, just enough to make her stew. Then the twist. Karen whipped out her phone, started poking at the screen even though airplane mode made it useless, pulled out her HOA badge like it was an FBI credential, and laid it on her tray, muttering, "People take me seriously." I couldn't help it. "Ma'am, with all due respect, your HOA can't find the captain." The window guy snorted so hard he nearly choked. Suddenly, the row behind us and across the aisle were in on the joke. When she couldn't get her way with the crew, Karen tried rallying support from the passengers. At one point she announced, "This airline has endangered us by seating a dangerous man beside me." Now everyone's glancing at me, waiting for the next plot twist. The flight attendant shut it down with a velvet hammer. "Ma'am, if you can't remain calm, you'll be met by security." That should have ended it, but Karen never knows when to quit. The plane lands and Karen's up before the wheels stop, bag swinging, shoving past people. In the terminal, she zeroes in on a couple of TSA agents, still clinging to her badge. "He's dangerous," he pretended to be in air. "Marshal." The agents barely blink, ask what happened. She points at me, rants about intimidation and conspiracies. They wave me over. "Did you say you were law enforcement?" I shake my head. "Nope." She made assumptions. I just said she wouldn't believe who I am. The agents smirk, check my bag, apologize, let me go. Karen's still yelling about power and lawsuits, but no one's listening now. Her audience has drifted away. I thought that was the end of it. But people like Karen, public humiliation is just a new starting line. Within 48 hours, I find a letter on my doorstep, official looking, but obviously written in fury. It's a cease and desist from an HOA I don't even live in. Apparently, my very existence is a threat to the order of Willow Creek. And if I don't pay $500, further legal consequences will follow. I laughed, until my boss called me in about an anonymous email accusing me of being unstable and dangerous. But here's the thing, if you push someone like me, I push back. I started digging, found records of Karen's HOA spending money on jewelry labeled community event supplies, copied receipts, grabbed screenshots. I didn't go straight to the cops or a lawyer. No, I sent it to the residents. The fallout? Her own board called an emergency meeting. People started asking about missing money. Local news picked up the story. By the time the next HOA meeting rolled around, Karen tried to rally the troops, but they were done. One by one, hands went up, vote to remove her. And just like that, her little empire cracked. But Karen didn't go quietly. She escalated, stalking, slandering, even vandalizing my car. She left a binder of creepy photos on my porch. When she keyed my car and threw a rock through my window, that was it. I handed everything to the police. This time, the real power showed up. Cops at her door, charges pending, neighbors cheering. And yet, even as they took her away in handcuffs, still screaming about conspiracies, waving her binder in the air like it meant something, I realized something wild. I never claimed to be anything special. All I did was keep my seat. Karen destroyed herself trying to prove she had power over someone she couldn't control. The irony? She made her own myth come true. By insisting I was a threat, by dragging the whole world into her drama, she guaranteed the only person ruined at the end of the show was herself. So what do you think? Is standing your ground always worth it? Or do some battles just breed bigger wars? Let me know below, because honestly, this isn't just my story. It's every community's nightmare. And sometimes, the only way to win is to keep your seat and let the world see who actually unravels. First, you'd think after seeing someone hauled away in handcuffs, their empire in ruins, and the neighborhood cheering, you'd get a break, right? Maybe pour a cup of coffee, sit on the porch, feel the air settle, maybe even laugh about it with the folks next door. For about 2 days, that was true. The kids rode their bikes without worrying about getting glared at. The neighborhood group chat was full of memes, and even my boss called to say, "Take the week off, you've earned it." But the one thing about people like Karen is, they don't just disappear, they double down. The first sign she wasn't done came with a knock at my door, early in the morning. I opened it expecting a delivery, maybe a neighbor, but instead it was some guy in a golf shirt and khakis holding a clipboard. "Hi, I'm with Willow Creek HOA," he announced. "We've had reports of your property line encroaching on HOA land. I'll need to do an inspection." I almost laughed. "You guys are 2 miles out of your jurisdiction. Turn around before I call the cops." His ears turned red, and he mumbled, "Karen will hear about this," before hurrying off. That should have been funny, a punchline. But a couple hours later, my phone buzzed with a local Facebook post. Warning, imposter federal agent seen in our community. There was my picture, blurry and half-cropped from the airport, plastered at the top, courtesy of Karen herself. The comments section was a battlefield. Some folks just dropped popcorn emojis, a few defended her, but most were tired of the drama, of the fake fines, of having their lives yanked around by one woman's need to play sheriff. Still, it hit different seeing my face up there, like she was reaching out from her little HOA bunker, refusing to let it go. By that evening, it got worse. I pulled up to my house and saw my trash cans knocked over, garbage all over the lawn. Tucked in with the coffee grounds and pizza boxes was a note: "You don't deserve peace. I'll take it piece by piece." I stood there, fists clenched, staring at the mess. Part of me angry, part of me wondering how someone could unravel this far. But honestly, I was done playing defense. If Karen wanted a war, I was ready. I started collecting everything: screenshots, emails, photos of the vandalism, videos of her driveway meltdown, the HOA receipts with the jewelry for events line. I packaged it all and sent it straight to the local news and every Willow Creek resident I could find an email for. Within 24 hours, the story hit every Neighborhood feed. HOA president accused of harassment, stalking, and fraud. My inbox exploded with thank yous, support, and even a couple of apologies from her old board members. That only pushed Karen further off the deep end. She went live on Facebook, streaming herself ranting about conspiracies, powerful men, and a corrupt media cabal trying to silence her. She declared herself a martyr, blamed the community, blamed me, blamed everyone except the woman in the mirror. The views piled up. So did the comments. Some people cheered her on. There's always a handful, but most just watched the train wreck unfold, popcorn in hand. Meanwhile, the fallout at Willow Creek was nuclear. The board called an emergency meeting, this time live-streamed by 3 different neighbors. The evidence against Karen was up on a projector, jewelry receipts, threats, even audio from her driveway performance. By the end of the meeting, the board voted to permanently remove her and ban her from ever holding office again. Karen, of course, screamed about lawsuits, but nobody was listening. I thought maybe that'd be it. Maybe she'd finally run out of steam. But no, she escalated again. I came home one night and found a thick binder on my doorstep. Inside were photos, dozens of them, of me at work, at the store, even sitting in my backyard. Each one stamped with a time and date. That chill crept in. She wasn't just angry, she was obsessed. I called the cops, filed another report, handed over every scrap of evidence. They promised they'd handle it, but I knew Karen. She wouldn't go quietly. She needed a stage. Sure enough, 2 nights later, she gave herself one. I came home to headlights lining the street, people milling around. Karen standing on the hood of her Lexus with a megaphone, binder clutched to her chest, screaming about tyranny and domestic terrorists. A couple of her diehard supporters waved signs. But most folks just filmed it, shaking their heads. I didn't rise to the bait. Just called the cops and let the officers take it from there. This time, they cuffed her right there in front of everyone, papers spilling across the driveway, neighbors clapping and laughing. Even then, Karen was shouting about conspiracies, her voice echoing through the cul-de-sac. For the first time, though, nobody seemed scared of her. The spell was broken. She'd gone too far, too public, too crazy to hide behind the HOA or the badge or the binder anymore. In the days after, the news ran her mugshot. The HOA issued a statement banning her for life. Neighbors who'd once been terrified now swapped jokes about her at block parties. The airline even sent me a letter of apology and a couple of travel vouchers, like a little badge for surviving the world's worst flight. I spent that weekend sitting on my porch, finally breathing easy, letting the sunlight wash away weeks of tension. But the thing that stuck with me wasn't how big the battle got, or how crazy Karen went. It was how fast a tiny injustice, a single seat dispute, can snowball when the wrong person decides they can. Never, ever lose. She wanted to prove she was powerful. All she really proved was that she was her own worst enemy. So, here's the debate. When you run into a Karen like that, do you fight back and risk World War III? Or do you let them run the show and hope they flame out on their own? Let me know what you'd do. Because, honestly, it could happen to anyone. And sometimes, just keeping your seat is the most powerful move you've got.